So why is the Bush administration intent on keeping men like Colonel Eberle from collecting damages from a country in which they were starved and tortured? Joining us now, a man who was just thanked on this program, one of President Bush's prime adversaries in this battle, Representative Bruce Braley, Democrat of Iowa. He sponsored the POW legislation, which passed the House on Monday night. If it becomes law, it would strip the president of his ability to exempt Iraq from lawsuits from former POWs and hostages. Congressman Braley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel.
When you first announced you would be submitting this bill, the legal battle was already entrenched between the Bush administration and the POWs who were trying to sue Iraq for torturing them back in 1991. This has been going on for 5 years. What got you involved in this?
Well, what got me involved was the very clear memories of the images of these tortured POWs during the Gulf War, and then something that should shock and outrage every American citizen, which was a 60 Minutes piece that I saw in 2003 describing how our president, George Bush, was placing a greater priority on transferring the assets that could have been used to pay these tortured POWs and human shields and using them to rebuild the oil fields in Iraq that had been destroyed during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then as I followed this and have met and had a chance to learn more about the amazing stories of these tortured heroes and the POWs and their families, this is the type of thing that should shock and outrage every American, and that's why Congressman Sestak and I have fought so hard to restore this right.
Well, I want to say what the White House explains about what they're doing here. They say they oppose allowing these former POWs, these heroes, to sue the Iraqi government because it would open Iraq up to billions of dollars in lawsuits for crimes committed under the old regime. They've also cited the fact that Iraq threatened to pull assets out of the U.S. if we allow these American citizens to sue the Iraqi government. We just heard that addressed in part by Colonel Eberle. But what about you? Do you buy those arguments?
These claims are bogus and absurd. What this bill would do is actually eliminate all known claims of American POWs and human shields because Iraq is no longer labeled as a state sponsor of terrorism. And one of the threshold things you have to prove to recover under this law that Congress passed in a bipartisan way in 1996 is that you were tortured by a state sponsor of terrorism, which Saddam Hussein's Iraq was at the time, but the government of Iraq is no more.
Congressman Bruce Braley, thank you for joining us and helping us bring this issue to light. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about this. Thanks for your efforts.
I hope so. Thank you, Rachel.
One of the things that's going on here is that as a signatory to the Geneva Convention, we are forbidden from absolving any country from any liability for torturing a POW ever. And, of course, the fact that much of this torture of American POWs in Iraq in 1991 happened in Abu Ghraib prison is not lost on history, and it should not be lost on us as we understand the political context here.